Big question today is, what do you do with your scrap wood? It's come to the end of the year and I have decided that I am going to turn mine into some Christmas decorations. But the first thing we're going to make is an advent calendar. And you might think your kids want chocolate ones or want ones with toys every day and up until Christmas. But let me tell you this, what they really want is to move a little snowman along a piece of wood to show different numbers along the way. Right? Well, maybe get 2 advent calendars, one with chocolate and one like this. Fun to make though. Let's start. Now, when you're making this advent calendar, just make sure your wood is thick enough so that it'll stand up on its own. Otherwise, we're going to have to make feet for it. Either way works. We're just going to tidy up the edges, get it jointed a little bit. If you've got even a 3/4 inch or 18mm piece of plywood, that would probably do just as good a job. I'm just not using that purely because I think it'll be harder to sand afterwards to get the finish that I want on it. Once we've got it jointed and you've got a nice flat edge, the next thing we're going to do is just to drill some holes in it. I'm just going to use a Forstner bit. You could use a drill, you could use anything that will get you a decent hole. And then we're going to make 25 holes in the top using a Forstner bit. Now, if you want to batch these out to sell, I would suggest making 2, drill the holes down the middle and cutting along the holes. So half of the hole is on one side and half is on the other. That way, you can make 2 in one hit. Always make sure you've got a backer board behind so that when you go straight through your piece, you're not going to go blowing out all the back and making it look really horrible. It looks a bit of a mess, but that is exactly what we're going for right there. This is going to need more finishing, but we can do all of that right at the end just before we put a little bit of stain or whatever we're going to put on it. Paint, up to you. Now we need to make a little snowman to sit on the top. Yours can be a Father Christmas or anything you want. You can make it a snowball if you don't feel comfortable cutting out shapes. And that would have been easy, wouldn't it? Snowball going up a mountain. I mean, I'm saying this because I definitely haven't failed making one snowman already that I haven't shown you. Definitely not.
I can't lie!
Oh no! And that is a real shame. But I'm going to stick with the snowman theme that I'm going to try for the first time ever. Just because I like the idea. What I would suggest on this is if you're not comfortable drilling the holes in a straight line, you could make it undulating in a kind of mountain. You could put the North Pole at one end, your house at the other end. Do anything you want, use your imagination on this one. I'm just going to draw the picture that I want on a piece of plywood. And then I'm going to double that up and I'm going to fill the middle with a slightly larger piece so that it sits nicely on top of the board. You'll see what I mean as it cuts out. I'm just going to use a coping saw to do the rough outline and then file it and sand it a lot until it's nice and round and fat like a snowman. Nearly. With that middle bit now cut out, he's going to sit really nicely, or she, or it is going to sit really nicely on this, sliding it along, and I'm going to make a little window belly so that you can see the numbers through it. And then we can give it a nice finish with the sander and get it more into a shape that's befitting a snowman and not a wooden jelly baby. Now, I started thinking about Christmas in my house and how decorations suddenly turn into toys. So I've just made a couple of little legs that will go on the side of the advent calendar. Just sunk a little bit of a groove in there so that it will sit nicely and snugly in them. And then it's just going to stop it tippling forwards when inevitably my daughters try and grab the snowman off the top to hurl it across the room or at each other. Okay, so choose your best side for the numbers, the one that looks the nicest. Mine are pretty much the same. I've marked down a spot here where the eye of the snowman sits. And I'm just going to follow that along. Remember, we're going to paint over this, so don't worry too much if you mess the paint job up. And then from there, I've got the fiddly job of popping on numbers. They are so small. So to show you what I'm doing there, got my numbers in. Oh, that was painstaking, but it's done. Now, I'm not guaranteeing these will stop the white paint from sticking, but, well, that's it. We'll see. I have put 4 or 5 coats of white on this, and I have to say, it's not just me. The spray paint I used is rubbish. Paint it properly if you've got the time. I'm going to try and distress it by sanding off some of the patchy areas, bring out some more of the grey. First, we're going to take off the numbers and see if all of this even worked. A little bit nervous about that, but let's get peeling. That, with the distressed look, has come out beautifully. And look, a little man sits on it. Like that. And he shows the number on the right day. If you want to get a little bit of 3D on it, once you've painted it, just distress the edges and a bit across his tummy, and suddenly he's starting to look a little bit more like a snowman. Now the next one we're going to do could not be simpler. All it is a block of wood that we're going to turn into a Christmas tree, but it's going to look really cool. Any old scrap bit of wood you've got, I would recommend it's thick enough to stand on its own, because it's going to stand on its own. And then all we're going to do is cut this into a triangle and put some baubles in it. And it's going to look amazing. But first, we're going to drill some holes. Now, do it in this order, trust me. Draw out your triangle, find out where you want it, and then drill 3 holes, and then we'll cut the wood afterwards. Do it in that order and this will be super simple. If you haven't got a big block of wood as well, you could even laminate a load of pieces together that will make it look really cool if you use light wood, dark wood together, anything you want. Or scrap pine, put a load together and then paint it green if you want. Now, if your wood's thick like mine, clamp it down and put a piece of wood behind it so you get the best finish possible. Or you can use a hole cutting bit, you can use a jigsaw, whatever you want to use. Just know it's going to get messy. Now I'm going to get these started inside and probably finish them outside. Then we'll sand off all of the sharp edges and get it cut out. You see what I'm saying though, if you cut it out too soon and then try and cut this with a Forstner bit, it's going to slip off the side. So do your Forstner bit first. Now this at the moment is pretty lethal. I am going to go and sand off every edge on it and then just put some finish on it. Take off as many sharp edges as you think your house needs. No one's going to throw it at each other over Christmas if you fall out over the turkey. That's fine. I've got the hooks in this ready for when the baubles arrive. Sadly, before I had to get this video out, the baubles hadn't arrived. I wanted to show you with it, but check out Instagram. When I put the little baubles in, you'll see them. Like everyone who does woodworking builds up a load of scrap plywood and it's not really big enough to do drawers or anything like that with. So what I've done is with all of this 1.2 centimetre or 12mm ply is I've just ripped it all down to the similar width. 4 centimetres give or take is what I've gone for. Choose whatever you like. So long as it's fairly uniform and not too thick. And then the next thing you need to do is decide the height of the tree you want. Somewhere here. Draw a triangle to that effect and then just start trimming each piece to be tapered with the triangle. Keep the ends flat, you don't need to worry about tapering those. Sand them, drill a hole in the middle, pop them on a stick, dowel you might want to call it, make a base, and then that's your tree. Yeah, perfect. I was so happy with how the plywood tree came out. I thought I would just throw all my scraps onto this one. And, well, it's nothing special. And it looks rubbish if you do it in a perfect pattern spiral. But if you just do it in a random pattern, I think it looks really cool. You can see here, I did a half lap base out of 2 pieces of scrap. is way too big for the tree. It takes over a little bit. But still, I really like it. And it's fun. Finish on them. I thought, wouldn't they look great with a star on top? I luckily had a bit of this Purple Heart veneer left. Probably not going to be perfect, but I think it's going to look pretty good. And so, I've just given these a wax so they spin nicely. I didn't put that in the last video when I did the one that had of not so many scraps, and actually lacquer was rubbish on it because it was quite gritty and stuck together. One of the friends of the channel actually suggested Danish oil for these, and it's brilliant. They slide together nicely, they've got a nice touch, and they smell lovely. I've topped them off with stars, and I have to confess, I don't think it actually adds to the overall look of the tree. I mean, they're okay, but I genuinely think these trees don't need them. I think they look better without them, but go your own way with it. And so there we have it. Scrap wood turned into decorations for all the family to enjoy. If you've still got a little bit more time on your hands now, please click the like button and then consider watching one of these videos. I'll see you over there.